back everyone, and it's time to go and today I am covering the secrets behind the creation of Black Clover. Now those of you that forgot, this is a series on the channel where I explain how Tabata, my friend, the creator of the manga, comes up with the concepts we all know and love. This helps my balls deep prediction magic, of course, and in doing my research I discovered a lot of things about the man we all simp for, Yami. So in order to fully grasp all the secrets I'll uncover in this video and how Yami's homeland will shape up to be in the future arc, you first must understand his origin. Yami comes from a place called the Land of the Rising Sun, or Hino Country. But one day, as a teenager, whilst he was fishing, he somehow got shipwrecked and was washed ashore in a strange land. Basically, Yami is the original isekai protagonist before Black Clover even started. Now, since Yami came from a different background, he was met with discrimination of all sorts. No one liked him because he didn't speak their language, he didn't look like them, and he had different values. On top of that, after 3 years being in the Clover Kingdom, at 15, his dark magic manifested. Society saw it as odd and intimidating, which resulted in him having no problem beating up anyone he felt like, because he's the original MC and a Chad.
It's facts! It's facts! It's not facts, these facts are not facts.
Around that time, however, Julius Novachrono, the captain of the Grey Day at the time, took an interest in Yami and his magic. Remember, this is a trait of Julius. He pretended to be an old woman just to check out everyone else's magic after the entrance exam. This is where he took an interest in Asta's anti-magic. Julius, having the Wizard King mentality just like Asta, wanted to end discrimination and make a change in society. So this is where he offered to teach Yami how to read and write the language of his new home. We learned in chapter 286 that Yami met a young man around his age named Nacht False, who also possessed a strange and mysterious kind of magic, shadow magic. So the two got along quite well for a while as outcasts and sharing the same outlook on life due to their circumstance. This eventually became the core foundation of what makes up the Black Bulls. One day Yami took the Magic Knight's entrance exam. Obviously he was accepted. The squad that took him in was the same squad as Nacht's twin brother, Morgan, which was also the same squad that Julius led, the Grey Day, now known as the Aqua Day under Real's lead. Thanks to an incident involving Nacht, Morgan was killed along with the rest of the family, and that was the day Yami decided to create his own squad. From there, the Black Bulls was created, and one by one he found members to fill up his team, members that were outcasts and nobodies, regardless of their social class, but they had value that he could see. So now that you know the basics of Yami's story, all these little things we'll be pointing out might make a bit more sense. Yami is the creator of the Black Bulls, who are people that are different from society, mainly because he himself was the biggest outcast and still is, if you think about it. Yami's homeland is basically Japan, and for starters, the clothing he was wearing at the Star Festival in chapter 102 points this out. It's the kind of clothing you'd expect someone from Japan to wear, as opposed to what everyone else was wearing, which was more or less their regular clothes. Tabata is definitely shaping Yami to be a character that represents the Hino Country. These clothes and his love for drinking are definitely derivatives of Japanese culture. Shout out to kansaichick.com for pointing this out, but essentially the kanji on his clothing during the festival means go wild, rampage, rage, cow, and bull. So the Black Bulls could be the English translations that you remember, but the true meaning of the team name is more like the Black Outrage Bulls or Black Raging Bulls, something like that. You can imagine the crazy gang that nobody can control, like a group of wild bulls. This blue costume is called a harpy, and it's one of the typical festival outfits in Japan. Even today, some core festival fans wear these costumes only for the festivals. However, the fundoshi, which is the underwear that Yami is wearing, is an ancient Japanese men's underwear. It's basically a long white or red cloth wrapping up the bottom, and it looks like a thong from the back, which we know Charlotte doesn't mind that shit because you know she want a piece of that action, that Black Frost energy.
It's facts! It's facts! It's not facts, these facts are not facts.
But anyway, this gives us an idea of the culture Yami is used to in his hometown of Black Clover, before he was isekai to the Clover Kingdom, therefore giving us an idea of what hilarity will ensue during the arc once the Black Bulls visit his heritage. There will definitely be a festival that they would have to go to or witness to start understanding Yami's antics even further, instead of seeing him as being weird. The drinking that Yami displays is also just like how people in in Japanese culture that is, love to drink sake and widely practice this culture. Yami is linked to the very traditional things from Japan in episode 151 of the anime. In this episode, Yami actually gets trapped in Dorothy's glamour world, where anything she imagines can come into fruition. And there, Yami tries to make Dorothy think of an outdoor bar, more specifically, a hot spring. The next thing that Yami mentions is sushi on a boat, and the reason for this theme is because a majority of the ingredients are actually from the sea, and can tie in with Yami, since he got to the Clover Kingdom by boat. Essentially, we all know that Japan is a booze lover's paradise. For centuries, alcohol has mixed into the local culture, creating friendships and sealing business deals on a daily basis. A peek into the nation's history reveals that alcohol has always been a way of life. Ancient Buddhist temples acted as a primary sake brewery for centuries, so that's why Yami is able to tolerate so much alcohol with Vanessa per se. Remember in the festival chapter, Charlotte and Vanessa enter a drinker competition, and Yami jokes around stating she can't hold her liquor? Well, that's just Tabata's way of making comedy and integrating more small aspects of Yami's homeland, as he even mentions the daijinjo sake, which is a type of alcohol made by using a kind of rice mash. Moving on, another practice from Yami's homeland that most of us take for granted by now in Black Clover is the existence of ki, which is actually a real-life concept in our world. But in Black Clover, in the manga, it's something that allows you to sense those around you and react accordingly. So even if you cannot detect magic, you can detect someone's ki because it's unique to that person, much like a fingerprint. This allows you to see them coming. This concept is common in Yami's homeland, even the Hot Queen mentioned it. But in the Clover Kingdom, only 3 people have learned it so far. And that's the man himself, Yami, the pint-sized goat, Asta, and somehow Veto also knows how to use ki as he utilized it against Yami in their fight. Ki has many meanings and translations, but what is possibly the most important one is when it translates as spirit or energy. Ki's function in life is well understood in the martial art of Aikido, the actions of which are focused almost entirely on the flow of ki. Thus, an attack in Aikido is less about the body of the attacker than about the flow of energy he has initiated and ridden. Consequently, the person being attacked is inclined to use evasive moves to get out of the direction of the attacker's ki flow. This is why when Yami introduced it to Asta during that arc against Licht, it was all about dodging the attacks of light magic, because Tabata was inspired from the real life concept of Aikido. Essentially, this is exactly how Yami and Asta utilize and describe ki, and that brings me to my next point of another practice Yami and Asta use but the others don't, and this is likely from the Hino Country of Black Clover. Aikido is definitely another style of fighting from Japan that goes hand in hand with ki. We will definitely see in the future of Black Clover manga more cultures and fighting styles unique to Yami's homeland. Aikido is a Japanese martial arts whose origins can be traced back to the 12th century, but I also believe what Yami and Asta practice with their swords is kenjutsu and iaido, a derivative of aikido, which is for actual offensive combat that samurai and others use. In the future of Black Clover, when the series will cover Yami's homeland, these different martial arts styles will be on full display, where the characters will be able to have development in their techniques from the people that are more akin to ancient practices. For example, Yami developed techniques called the Aya Slash, which emulates the practice of Iaido all in one technique. That is because Yami condenses the area of Black Moon's effect and waits for the opponent to attack. Once the opponent is in range, the user coats their sword in darkness, quickly drawing the blade and dashing forward, slashing the opponent across the stomach with 100% accuracy. This means we know for a fact that in Black Clover, the Hino Country must practice Iaido, which is a Japanese style of swordsmanship that emphasizes awareness of one's surroundings and drawing one's sword swiftly and smoothly in response to a sudden attack. Imagine if Asta learnt this power when learning Yami's land at the training arc. He would literally be unstoppable, man. This arc would be training in the way of samurai, something Asta hasn't done yet and has to learn. Training in Iaido involves a number of distinct yet interrelated disciplines. One of them is called Tanren, and this is the physical condition as taught in feudal Japan. It consists of a series of body weight and equipped drills. These drills increase physical conditioning, fitness, strength, and improve body movement and coordination. They also importantly contribute to the spirit spirit of the practitioner, training them to develop endurance, perseverance, humility, dedication, and more. Asta is the perfect candidate for this type of training with Yami, which is why the both of them were already declared to be the two physically most strongest people in the kingdom by Tabata, the creator of manga, already. Another practice of this martial art is called waza, and this is when Asta can learn techniques. These are the core teachings of the school and foundation of Iaido. It comes in 4 steps. As you can see, it's being displayed to you right now. It's the initial draw and simultaneous cut, the decisive finishing cut, a symbolic shaking of blood from the blade, and then receiving the sword, something which Yami exactly performed against Dante when he introduced this new power after the time skip. I believe Tabata has already foreshadowed Asta's emulation of Yami and the future he can have by visiting the homeland. For example, the Demon Slasher Katana needs to be wielded properly. Asta has not mastered its speed and technique at all. He can't even match Yami's level of ki control or swift slashes the katana has in comparison to his heavy Demon Slayer sword, right? The storytelling is screaming for Asta to train with it. Yami passed over the katana to Asta against Dante in chapter 259. Now obviously we know Yami uses a katana, a type of sword from the land of the rising sun. As such, he had to have had the sword custom made in the Clover Kingdom. However, a katana was used by samurai in feudal Japan, which means that in Yami's home country there must be samurai. Samurai were the hereditary military nobility and officers of medieval and early modern Japan. The Clover Kingdom is made up of medieval and 1800s technological design, inspired from the French Revolution that happened in a similar time. So this makes it obvious that in Black Clover, samurai must exist, as this is the culture he knew about before landing on the continent in the first place. Now, if you were listening, I also mentioned Kenjutsu. Well, Kenjutsu first appeared in the 15th century as a means of military training for the samurai class too. So there you have it. That's balls deep prediction magic right there. This shit is gonna come true. Watch. The objective of Kenjutsu is to learn how to kill or harm an opponent using a sword. In chapter 271, we saw the katana Asta possesses, that it's capable of releasing flying slashes of anti-magic just like the other swords. We can see that the slashes are much more swift and faster, as they actually grazed Nacht whilst the others did not. This is whilst Nacht is being serious at 100% power. Asta takes on a similar pose to Yami, and through his experience, he emulates his fighting style to use the Demon Slasher Katana correctly. In chapter 273, we clearly saw Asta using the Demon Slasher once he first achieved Devil Union with Liebe. In the chapter, the actual form of union worn off in the start, but we can clearly see that the wall is completely sliced in half with the blade, an attack that seemed to parallel Yami's Dark Cloak Dimension / Equinox. Asta even uses a similar pose to Yami once it was performed. Nacht admits that Asta missed him on purpose, because if he landed it, he would have died. This new slash from the katana is so overpowered that it didn't even need to land on Nacht to remove all his spells and his own union mode. It completely erased everything within its vicinity, and Nacht declared him the strongest on the spot and the ultimate warrior that can save the world against the Dark Triad. This means that Asta will showcase this spell again during the finale of the Dark Triad arc, and he will have to perform it to save Yami and William's life. And I believe this is just a foreshadowing of the training Asta will receive by practicing this new sword even more. If you want to learn every single power Asta has right now, I highly suggest watching the video being displayed right now. I explain just how broken Asta is currently with the many powers he invented with anti-magic. Please hit the notification bell this time so you don't miss out on our future uploads. I would also like to thank everyone that has bought our merch. Our merch will be in the pinned comment. There will also be a discount code for you if you would like to buy it. The next thing I'd like to mention about Yami's homeland is religion, because it's definitely going to have it. We know in Black Clover, it's an important aspect, as the one woman Asta wants to marry is Sister Lily, a nun. One way or another, there are different religions in the continent that worship God. Yami's homeland definitely has Shinto religion and Buddhist practices. For example, when Julius declared his prediction of Asta's death, he clearly made a mudra based on Buddhism when joking about resting in peace. The Hino Country will definitely have shrines and Buddhist inspirations for Yami to learn this aspect of life before he landed in the Clover Kingdom. This Buddhist mudra that Yami makes is actually called the Abhaya mudra. That is the gesture of reassurance and safety, which dispels fear and gives divine protection and bliss, which of course, hearing that Asta's gonna die and the predictions are always come true according to Yami, he's gonna joke about and make this wish for Asta's safety by doing this sign. Shinto is also a perfect way of introducing kami concepts, since it's already been foreshadowed a ton in the series, as Shinto is actually the way of the gods. It's an indigenous faith of the Japanese people, and it's as old as Japan itself. It remains as Japan's major religion alongside Buddhism. The essence of Shinto is the Japanese devotion to invisible spiritual beings and powers called kami, to shrines, and to various rituals. This means we shouldn't be surprised that this concept will be utilized by Tabata in the future once we reach Hino Country. Finally, to end the video, if you had the notification bell on, you already know this theory, but there is quite a bit of evidence pointing towards the fact that Yami did not end up in the Clover Kingdom by coincidence, and that his appearance was actually planned by Lucifer, one of the three kings of hell. At first, this may seem like an unrelated stretch, but you have to remember that Yami is essential to the plan for the ritual of Cliff-Off, and there is no way that a devil as cunning as Lucifer, who has been waiting patiently for centuries to get a chance to get out of the underworld, have all these things happen by mere chance. Yami's dimensional properties of his dark magic are needed to open the gate of Cliff-Off and for the ritual spell to actually activate. There's also the fact that Yami just had to exist at the same time as William Vengeance as the second key to the Tree of Cliff-Off spell, since William has tree magic, plus the fact that William's mother's clan was inflicted with a curse, which we know originates from devils, more specifically Medjugorje. The forbidden magic gives you that specific curse on your head, mate. Another coincidence is the fact that Yami actually appeared in the Clover Kingdom the same year that Lasita was killed by Lucifer. So Yami appeared in the Clover Kingdom around the same time that Lucifer had last known activity on the earth, and we know that Lucifer killing Lasita was around a year or so after the Spade Kingdom coup d'etat, and also a year after Asta was left at the church. That's because Liebe appeared in the overworld a day after Lasita left Asta at the church. Seeing as post time skip Yami's age is 29, and you subtract that by Asta's age, which is 16 or 17, and then subtract another year that Liebe spent with Lasita, you get that Yami was around 13 to 14 years old when he got isekai to the Clover Kingdom, which actually matches perfectly since we know that Yami didn't get his grimoire until later. This matches with our timeline perfectly, because Lucifer said to Lasita that he will make a plan and use the dark triad after failing to take over Liebe's body, that somehow he'll make a plan to come to Earth. There's way too many coincidences regarding Yami's presence in the Clover Kingdom. It only makes sense that Lucifer actually brought Yami from the country of Hino to the Clover Kingdom just for this sake. There's also the fact that the Heart Queen referred to 90% of humans will be wiped out. She specifically said to be this continent instead of the whole world. This seems to imply that 1, other continents exist, and 2, that they would be saved from the impending doom of the ritual of Cliff-Off for some unknown reason, which makes the fact that Yami made it to the Clover Kingdom that much more suspicious. Let me know what you think of this theory in the comment section below. The timeline matches way too well after Lucifer's statement to Lasita. Thank you for joining me as always. Smash that like button for me, follow me on Twitter or Instagram, buy our merch, and I'll see you guys next time.